Throughout the month of January, and can you believe this is already the last Sunday in January? Time goes by fast, and it waits for no one. Amen? So we need to keep up. Right? But we talked about vision. We're talking about vision. And I wanted to kick off 2020 with this series because why? Because it's not every year that you enter into a new decade, and it's not every year that when you say the year or you see the year, it reminds you of clear vision. Right? We are in the year 2020. There's some things about vision that we have to know. Vision is connected to hope. Vision is connected to protection. If I can see where dangers could be, right, then that informs what I do and what I don't do, how far I go to the edge. So vision is connected to protection. Vision is connected to boundaries. What can I do? What's the safe perimeter? Vision is connected to accuracy. Vision is connected to depth. It's connected to inspiration. I've just seen some things in life that have truly inspired me. Vision is connected to your future. And if vision is tied to all of that, protection, accuracy, depth, boundaries, inspiration, hope, future, that I think we can all agree that vision plays a large role in life. Vision plays a large role in life. And so we kicked off. Here we go again. There we go. It's working this time. But we kicked off this year with part one, and we looked at nearsighted vision. Nearsighted vision, the inability, right, to see things clearly unless they are close to the eyes. You know what? If it's close, I can see it. If it's close, I can get it. If it's close, it makes sense to me. But as soon as you put it in the distance, or as soon as you try to fix my eyes on stuff that's in the distance, I have a hard time focusing. I have a hard time understanding things. I have a hard time seeing it clearly. It gets a little foggy. It gets a little blurry to me. Right? And then we did just the opposite. We looked at farsighted vision. Farsighted vision. Just the opposite. The inability to see things that are clearly in front of you. You can only see what's far away. I can see what lies ahead, but I'm having a hard time understanding what's right in front of me. I'm missing what's right in front of me. I'm missing what's right around me. I'm missing the thing that is closest to me. And what do we talk about? If you are seeing things clearly that are close, you're still diagnosed as being visually impaired. If you can only see things that are close, even though you can see them good, man, I'm telling you, I can see everything right here. I'm good. You will still be diagnosed with being visually impaired. Why? Because that's not the full picture. You can say, Doc, I can see it all, man. Look, just put it right here. I can tell you every detail. And the doctor will say, yeah, that's good. That's part of the picture. But it's not the whole picture. You still need assistance. You're still technically visually impaired because you can't see everything. So seeing close or only seeing far does not mean you can see clearly. So we looked at that. Understanding both the benefits and the downside. If I'm living in the moment, and if everything is a big deal, if I'm so nearsighted and short-sighted, and I don't have any depth to life, I don't have any perspective in life, and everything is about the moment, then am I prepared for the moment to come? And the enemy does his job when he gets us to only focus on what's right in front of us. When he gets us to be so wrapped up in this world, when he gets us to only think about temporal things and not think about eternity. If we're not looking that far ahead and everything is about the here and now, then it robs our experience of life. And if you're so farsighted, where everything is about the future that you envision for yourself and trying to get there, but you're so fixated on that you can't see what's around you and how valuable the things are that are around you, then you jeopardize what you envision for yourself. So what does that mean? That means we need to see both. Things that are close and things that are far off, clearly. Right? So when we kicked off this series, we said that what? Vision is what you see, but not only what you see, but how you see. Because what? The condition of our heart determines how we see. You say, well, what does that mean? Our eyes all perceive the same thing. We all live in the same world, but we all respond to it differently. So the condition of our heart interprets what we take in. So the condition of our heart determines how we see. But guess what? Vision is also the bridge that connects the present to the future. This year, a prayer should be, God, I don't want to just be focused on what's ahead. I don't want to have this vision for my life, but fail to recognize what's around me that actually puts me in position to accomplish what you have for me. I don't want to devalue, misuse, or overlook everything that you've given me to allow me to get to what you have for me. And the prayer should be twofold. But also, God, I don't want to be so caught up in the moment. I don't want to be so focused on the here and the now. I don't want to act hastily. I don't want to make everything a big deal with some of the things that are not a big deal. I don't want everything to get my attention that shouldn't have my attention. I don't want everything to take me for an emotional loop and end up missing what you ultimately have for me. We should be having those prayers for this year especially. We should say both. God, you know what? I want you to be that daily bread. Giving me everything that I need and allowing me to discern, to value, and appreciate everything that you give to me. The sovereignty and the providence that you give for me. The provisions that enable me to get to the vision. What do we say? God is both the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. There's a Genesis, there's a beginning to things, and there's also a revelation, an end to things. Right? And God is concerned about bringing a revelation to what he starts. So if God is giving you a vision for your life, or if you envision, or if you have desires in your heart, then you've got to trust and know that through the providence of God, that He is providing provisions, things that are in agreement with getting you to where He ultimately wants you to be. Provision, that's for the vision. He always does it. God is not just concerned about starting things. He's also that much concerned about ending things properly. And if He's well invested on the front end and the back end, then guess what? He is very active in the middle, making sure that things happen the way that He desires. So we trust and believe and have confidence in that. Appreciating where you are and trusting in God for what He has for you. It's both and. And the reason we need God is because a lot of times what we envision is the full picture. And life just doesn't work like that. You don't start at the end. Everything starts in seed formation. A seed doesn't look like a full plant, right? Or a seed doesn't look like a fully established tree. You look nothing alike. But in that seed is everything to become that. And that's how life works. A lot of times we envision ourselves, or we envision doing things, or we envision having something, or we envision a certain mindset or operating at a certain level in life, and we look around us and we say nothing looks like what I envision. And I'm here to tell you today that that vision that God has dropped in your heart, seeing yourself better than where you are today, seeing yourself operating at another level, different mindset, different mentality, different outlook, different environment, different habits. God is saying, guess what? I am giving you everything that you need. And guess what? If you trust in me, and if you take my hand right now, I'll show you that you have enough to go forth. If you don't have a vision for your life, then guess what? You can't put the present into context. You ever but you ever talk to people and you say, man, how's it going, man? Well, you know, I'm just living. I'm just out here. Maybe that's what I hear all the time. I'm just out here, Pete. But where are you going? What does that mean? Well, you know, man, I'm just taking it day by day. You know? But never really having an answer for how what they're doing presently is ultimately getting them or preparing them or positioning them for what they want ultimately. Having vision for your life allows you to put the present in the context, meaning it informs what you say yes to, and it informs what you say no to. It informs how you spend your time and who you spend your time with. If you know that you're trying to get to that destination and you've got a vision for that, then that informs what you do presently so that you can get there. Vision is important and it's vital. You know, I watch HGTV. Yeah, I said it. I watch a lot of it. And Two of my favorite shows, if it's just have to be the reruns or what have you, I watch them. Fixer Upper and the Property Brothers. Right? And the premise is the same for every show. You've got the Property Brothers, the twin brothers, or you've got Chip and Joanne. And they take a couple or they take somebody into a house. Now this person that they're taking into a house has a vision for what they want. Right? They envision either starting this new home, right, with their new family or continuing to raise their family. They have an idea of what they want. They have the picture in their mind. And they walk into a space. And the space never looks like what they envisioned. Matter of fact, a lot of times it's far from what they envisioned. And they have a hard time seeing the potential. They have a hard time seeing how what they envision will actually take place when you just brought me. And a lot of times they leave. A lot of times they go back and they talk to each other and they call you in the microphone and they got the words. I just can't believe they brought us here. I mean, it's a waste of time. I mean, we told them what we wanted. But you have two people or two groups of people that can see the same thing and have a different response to it. It's some people that can see a reality that doesn't exist yet and can say, you know what? This has got good bones. Guess what? This is a pathway to get to what you ultimately desire. The other person can say, you know what? I envision something, but what you have me in right now looks nothing like what I want. Therefore, I'll devalue it and I'll leave. You can be in the very spot that is connected to what you envision for yourself and what God wants you, and still miss it if you don't have vision. What your heart desires, what you cry about, what you stay up all night about, what you get frustrated about, the very fact that it's slipping you and time is passing you by, the very spot that God has you could be connected to that. And if you don't have vision, you miss it. Here we go. Proverbs 15:3 says this. The eyes of the Lord are in every place. Every place. Colossians 1:17 says this. And this is a couple of verses, but it starts here. It says, for by him all things were created. Things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Jeremiah says this, 23, verses 23 and 24. God says this, am I a God who is near, declares the Lord, and not a God far off? I mean, you tell me. He says, can a man hide himself in hiding places so I do not see him? Is there anywhere that you can go? Is there anything about you? Is there anything that entails you that God does not know? He said, declares the Lord, do I not feel the heavens and the earth? Essentially, God lets us know what? That he is omnipresent. That he's everywhere at the same time. That he fills every space. Jesus came here to what? He came here to save humanity, but we also, just as much as we needed his divinity, what? We needed his humanity as well. To have a Savior that we can identify with, to let us know how to navigate through this life, right? But he also came into life with us to give us a worldview, to change the lens in which we look through life. True godly vision, as we wrap up this series, true godly vision is threefold. There's foresight, there's insight, and there's oversight. Foresight, insight, and oversight. That is godly vision. They all come from his sight. Foresight is kind of like that being farsighted, right? It connects us to our future, right? That ability to see things that are far off. The ability to see things that's not right here today, but that's in a distant tomorrow. That foresight, that ability to see far and clearly. What connects us to our future, it energizes us in the moment. It motivates us in the moment because we have a clear picture of what's ahead. The ability to start this ministry with so much motivation and with so much energy can only come by being able to see what's ahead. That's foresight. Foresight allows you to have the perspective so that life makes sense. Foresight is like looking through a telescope. It's a good analogy. Man, you know what? Without this lens, without this particular vision, I couldn't see that far. Insight. Insight is being able to look at something through a microscope. Being able to see into something. Being able to understand that, guess what? There's more to life than just what meets the eye. It's being able to get to the heart of the matter, the motivations of the heart. It's the whys in life. See, a lot of times we get enamored with the what's in life. What you want to be, what you want to do, what you want to have. I got this, I got that, I got this, they call me this, they call me that. I get to drive this, I got that, I got this. It's the what's in life, and a lot of times we pursue those what's, but it's all about the why. Why do you want those things? Do you try to find identity in those things? Why do you pursue those things? Why are those things important? Why do you do what you do? Having insight allows you to understand the heart of the matter. And oversight. What did Paul write to the Colossians? In chapter 3, verses 1 and 2, he says, since then you have been raised with Christ. Set your hearts on things above. Set your mind on things above, not on earthly things, right? This perspective can only happen from a certain place. This perspective can only happen from a certain level. Paul is encouraging them. He said, in the context of being able to live a Christian life, in the context of being able to live a life that is worthy of the call that we have in Christ, he said, guess what? You've got to operate from a different level. You've got to set your heart, you've got to set your mind on things above so that you understand the relationship between things. You've got to understand the pattern of this world. You've got to understand how things work. When you have oversight, guess what? It informs your relationship to the world and your place in it. Let's see, we said the telescope, the microscope, this is the airplane, right? On this level, on the ground level, the world looks completely different than it does at a different elevation. Foresight, insight, and oversight allows us to be able to walk through life discerning, seeing like God, giving us the wisdom to respond properly to life, and to do life with other people that is life-giving for them. It impacts the entire experience of life, and not only for yourself, but others. And as being the church, so that we can be a light, so that we can be the salt of the earth, so that we can lead people into a relationship with Christ, it's very important that we see like God does. Paul writes this. Now, I'm going to close with this. Paul writes this. He says, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. Life is not easy. And life has seasons. We have good days, and we've got bad days. We've got rough days, we have tough days, we have tough seasons in life where things happen over and over and over again, or something happens so bad that it lingers and it puts us in this season. And with all the ups and downs and living in the fallen world and being susceptible to pain, to hurt, to sickness, to death, it's so vital to have the right perspective, to have the right vision. That just because things are not the way we want them today doesn't mean that it doesn't end well. When God tells us that he gives a peace that surpasses all understanding, he is not lying. And we need those things. But this speaks to vision. Paul can only write this because there's foresight, there's insight, and there's oversight. A lot of us go through things, and emotionally we get spent, and sometimes we lose hope or we get discouraged. Because things get so rough, things get so cloudy that we cannot envision anything being better. Or because we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, because maybe we just got into something that's so hard, that's so dark. The foresight vision becomes very difficult. To actually see what God has for us. To see that it won't always be like this. And so vision is so important in being able to see like God does, because it allows us to have the right perspective in every situation in life. And all of us have lived long enough to be in agreement that life is complex, that we have a variety of feelings. They're not always positive. And sometimes we don't know what the next step is. And God is saying, guess what? Whatever I've started, I'm going to finish. And even though it doesn't look like you want it to look, and even though it doesn't feel like you want it to feel, and even though you've had to cry sometimes, and even though you've been frustrated, and even though people have hurt you, guess what? I'm still providing for you and allowing you to get to what I ultimately have for you. All you got to do is trust me. And if you keep your hand in my hand, then I promise you, I'll give you my vision. I'll give you what I have so that it puts you through, and it pulls you through, and it presses you through every situation. Vision gives pain purpose. Paul doesn't write, I don't know why I'm having these present sufferings. Paul says, you know what? I consider that these present sufferings are not worth comparing to the glory. You know what? I know that I'm suffering for Christ, and I know that I'm living in a fallen world, and I know the results of sin, but guess what? I'm going somewhere. I've got an inheritance. I've got a place that God has prepared for me. I'm putting this present pain into context. I have purpose to this pain. I have purpose to this suffering. It's not random. I understand how to categorize this. Some of us have been dealing for a while with things. And God wants you to know today that it's not in vain. If you see the way I see, every single thing that you've been through in life has purpose. And things may have felt like a step back. But God is saying, you know what? That is preparation for what I have for you. You can't appreciate God's security if you've never been in harm's way. You can't appreciate God being a provider if you've never gone without. You can't appreciate God's unconditional love if you've never been loved conditionally. I'm going to end with this. There's a pastor that said this. He says the level of sacrifice that an environment requires will determine the size of the people that follow. The level of the sacrifice that an environment requires will determine the size of people that will follow. Everybody can't see you. Everybody can't walk into a space. Everybody can't start at the ground level. But God has called us for such a time as this. To appreciate, to see the value in one another and what we have collectively, where He's called us from and what He's called us into. To accomplish something that will be life-giving and transformative for so many people. KSU is about to become a change agent for so many people. I wouldn't tell you that if I didn't believe it. And I wouldn't tell you that if I didn't see it. And the question that permeates all of us is, are we prepared for the sacrificing and the sowing that's required to reach the potential? This is our year where everything comes together. The foresight, the insight, and the oversight to see God's vision come into manifestation. We started with looking ahead. Then we started looking inward. Now you guys have insight to who you are and who God has created you to be. Your strengths, your spiritual gifts that God gives you for the edification of the church. God has given us oversight. It's been reflected back to us who we are collectively. So we keep our minds, we keep our hearts fixated on Him, operating from a level above. The foresight energizes us in the present, giving context to what we do, what we don't do, motivating us, giving us energy to press toward the mark that He has for us. But we got to be serious about accomplishing what God has for us. Why? Because lives are at stake. It's a great call. It's a giant call. But He wouldn't call us to do something that He won't equip us to accomplish. And in life personally, being able to see correctly moves you to being who God has purposed and planned for you to be. Amen. And amen. Let's give that word a hand.